If a candidate has mentioned that there are two sides to the picture, and for very valid reasons he takes X side, and then the interview board takes the contrary position just to test the candidate maybe, or a genuinely different position, then the candidate has the option. Another thing that you can get is case studies. Situation. You're put in a situation, and there, what will you do? It may be a law and order situation, it may be a flood or drought situation. I get the draft just at the time of the mock, and that is what happens in the UPSC also. So you look at the mock, and I scribble along the DAF itself as to where the candidate belongs to, what is the optional, what is the academic record, what are the hobbies, and what is it that with his DAF. So there, if you ask what would you do in XYZ situation, first of all you must think, what are the critical inputs in that? Good morning, friends. This is a very critical time of the year when a lot of candidates are preparing for their interviews. Some are doing mocks, some are doing self-study, but it's a real landmark in all their lives. And first of all, the thing to remember is that the interview per se is not a test of knowledge. The knowledge has already been tested in the mains. However, it is important that that knowledge which they should have, they have. And that is the lens through which the personality is to be seen. So if there's a candidate, say from Maharashtra, from say Jalgaon, so he must know about Jalgaon, he must know about Maharashtra. If there is a candidate who has an agriculture background, he or she must know about agriculture. So whatever is there in the DAF plus what is there in the current affairs, that must be known. And if there's an intersect between the DAF and current affairs, then the probability of that being asked is much more. That's what one is looking for. When it comes to a personality, what is being looked for is a person who has balance, who's able to see both sides of a picture, who has analyzed both aspects, and then is able to come to a conclusion or a decision in the matter. Another aspect of this is that in the course of the interview, if a candidate has mentioned that there are two sides to the picture, and for very valid reasons he takes X side, and then the interview board takes the contrary position just to test the candidate maybe, or a genuinely different position, then the candidate has the option. Then it looks very bad if he argues. It's also not good if the candidate then retreats. So it is always a good escape clause also, if you may call it, but it also shows a balance of personality that you can see both sides of the picture. So this is something that people have to keep in mind. But that does not mean that when a candidate asks for opinion, he or she does not give an opinion. Then they hide behind two sides. So the two sides are there, which the candidate is alive and aware to as a means to reaching a decision. Informed decision is what is being looked for. One area where I find, I must have interviewed hundreds of candidates, still candidates are not reading the newspaper. They didn't find time to read the newspaper. Or today we didn't read the newspaper. A newspaper has to be a part of the everyday life of a candidate, because an informed individual is what is being looked for. A civil servant who does not know his surroundings, who is not interested in important things happening, is no use to anybody. So what is happening on a daily basis should be known, should be interested, he should analyze and understand it. Now, by way of preparation, there are newspapers which have explained analysis columns, there are editorials, there are opinion pages. These must be read because they help in reaching an opinion. I would also suggest that one leading daily, regular daily, and one economic daily. Not necessarily belong to the same chain. I mean, if you're looking at Indian Express, then don't take Financial Express. Then you take ET or Mint. If you're looking at Hindu, then take something from another chain of newspapers, because then you get a better idea, a better coverage. Net, what I would say is that 50, 60, 70 topics should be selected, identified, depending on how much time a candidate has. And this would be, again, as I said earlier, where the candidate belongs to. What are the interests and hobbies of the candidate? What are the optionals and what have been the academic subjects? Current affairs. And where there are intersects of these. And they should be prepared anticipating questions that can come on those, both factual and opinion. So I think it works very well to have data points on the, say supposing it's the Israel Hamas issue. So then the data points from where the conflict arose, write all the data points in bulleted form, the key milestones that have a bearing on what is happening today. And then, say if you're looking at US point of view or Israel point of view or India point of view, then what are both sides of the picture? Where do the interests lie? Where do you anticipate it ending? What do you think would be the most favorable interest from our national interest point of view? Morals is very good. It is good to be ethical. But in foreign policy, national interest is the lens through which everything is seen. So this is what anticipation has to be done of the kind of topics that will come, and then preparation done accordingly. It can be updated with the so stories unfold, they could be updated. A good way to identify events is also at the end of the year, different newspapers and magazines come up with those supplements on all the key events of the year. So it's a good idea to take hold of that and identify your events which are reflecting from your DAF, your interests, and those which are still alive and important. So this is something that is important. Then another thing that you can get is case studies. Situation, you are put in a situation, and there, what will you do? It may be a law and order situation, it may be a flood or drought situation, it may be a Silkyara type disaster, a disaster of that sort, or it may be it could be anything. It could be elections, anything that functions. It could be education. If you were health secretary, education, economy, it could be any of these things. So there, if you ask, what would you do in XYZ situation? First of all, you must think, what are the critical inputs in that? For example, if you ask farmer suicides, then what is leading to farmer suicides? You have to think. Don't start talking right in too much on that, but what is leading to farmer suicides? So now, if it is excessive indebtedness and high rate cost of credit, then the intervention that you're talking about should be that. So similarly, in all these situations, a good idea to anticipate and mentally prepare for these situations. Then what are we've been doing a lot of these mocks, and the way I find very useful is I get the draft just at the time of the mock, and that is what happens in the UPSC also. So you look at the mock, and I scribble along the DAF itself as to where the candidate belongs to, what is the optional, what is the academic record, what are the hobbies, and what is it that with his DAF I can see and intersect with current affairs, or what should be his interest in current affairs. So that is what is the first stage that I do. I scribble on that, and then I use that to ask questions, and not necessarily hard and fast. As it evolves, depending on the answer of the candidate, it gets calibrated. So that's a very, I find it useful, and that is also gives a lead to the candidate how to prepare. So I was asked, how are the candidates so far? Well, it's a mixed bag. And one thing I do find again, that candidates don't read the newspapers as much as they should. There have been some very, very impressive candidates that I can say, looking at them and interacting with them, that unless they've done their mains really badly, they've been unlucky, nothing can stop them. And I recall, I recall a lady who I interviewed a couple of days back. She was from a very economically depressed background, and she was speaking in the vernacular. The choice of language for the interview was also was actually Hindi, but she was so poised, really poised and down to earth, and she knew her subject so well. She was articulate in her subject. She had no apology that she's speaking in Hindi, and I would rate her as a sure shot. So net, I would say, be yourself. Play to your strengths. If you have some really strong point, well, you can drop a hint in the conversation that they pick up that. Conversation should not be loose, that you're just saying something and then you get picked up on the wrong thing. So be yourself, know your strength, Show balance to see both sides of a picture. Don't argue. Put forward your point with conviction. And all the best to everybody.